Nigeria collaborate for more Nigerian products in Chinese markets. Federal government seeks to reduce airfare prices in Nigeria, says Kiamo. Oil prices steady on Gaza ceasefire talks even as U.S. plans Middle East strikes. Asia markets mostly lower after Powell says Federal Reserve will be cautious on rate cuts. And on the program today, we will be focusing on prospects of oil and gas sector amid FOREX crisis. And we have Balazaka in the house, an oil and gas analyst. The program is Business Express, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Musa Abubakar, your guide. Now let's bring you up to speed with business development. The Chinese ambassador to Nigeria has assured Nigeria of robust China-Nigeria collaboration for Nigerian products and commodities to be made available in Chinese market within the next 5 years. The ambassador, who stated this in Abuja, noted China is the largest economy in Asia, while Nigeria is a leading economy in Africa with a lot of similarities in culture and strategic knowledge about the international situation and economy. The ambassador said China has demonstrated its willingness to give Nigeria and other African countries opportunities to supply their product to its markets. He added that the volume of trade between China and Nigeria had grown in the past few years. Now, to further increase the trade volume between Nigeria and Indonesia, which jumped by 83% to $4.78 billion in 2022 from $2.61 billion in 2021, as well as reduced the rate of unemployment amongst youths in Nigeria. The Nigeria-Indonesia Chamber of Commerce and Industry says, in collaborating with the federal government through the Ministry of Youth Development, Olaiga reports that President Nigeria-Indonesia Chamber of Commerce and Industry Ismail Balogun stated this when he led a team on a courtesy visit to the Minister of Youth Development, Jamila Ibrahim, in Abuja, while listing the huge trade potential between the two countries and opportunities inherent. Ismail Balogun urged government to take advantage of its tourism sector, as it has the potential of creating millions of jobs for the teeming unemployed youths in the country. Applauded the team Minister of Youth Development, Jamila Ibrahim, pledged government readiness for partnership, as it will guarantee direct foreign investment, which will provide more jobs and returns on investment in the country. Well, the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission has clarified that ownership of oil and gas assets in Nigeria can only be transferred from one entity to another, subject to the consent of the minister, as spelled out by the 2021 Petroleum Industry Act. In a statement released, the chief executive of the commission, Benga Komolafe, addressed the ongoing social media discussions regarding certain international oil companies completing sales of assets to indigenous companies. He emphasized that such transfers required ministerial consent, which is granted upon recommendation from the Commission and satisfaction of specified conditions by the Minister. Now, to shed more light on issues around oil and gas amid FOREX crisis, which is the business of the day, is an oil and gas analyst, Balazaka. He joins us virtually from Lagos. You're welcome to Business Express as usual.
Thank you.
Mr. Balazaka, you're looking, you're looking cool this afternoon. Let me just say that.
Well, it's the motto of my secondary school, government secondary school, Askira Uba. The motto is hope rising.
Okay.
So I'm always an optimistic person. That's the motto of my secondary school.
Looks like you are not feeling the impact of this economy in Lagos. Looks like. well, to delve into it, so much has been said when we had the fuel subsidy in place. A lot of complaints about we are not actually accessing the potentials of our oil resources and things like that. But with the fuel subsidy now gone, we thought that the situation is supposed to change. We're supposed to see more of this FOREX stabilizing our FOREX market. Why is that not happening at this point in time?
Well, thank you for that excellent question. Whenever I see energy journalists, asking such questions, the first thing I do is I salute their courage, to ask such excellent questions. And the reason was because at a point, everybody was saying Nigerians needed to bite the bullet. Nigerians needed to bite the bullet and let subsidy go on the only material or only product that was remaining, which was petrol. Before the removal of subsidy on the price of petrol, it was very clear, honestly clear, that the removal on the price of kerosene didn't help Nigerians. It was very clear that the removal on the price of aviation fuel didn't help Nigerians. It was also very clear that the removal on the price of diesel didn't help Nigerians, because it was very clear that the strategic industrial sectors were suffering, strategic domestic sectors and strategic commercial sectors. And all of them then were managing, and they all moved towards petrol. But when the subsidy was removed on petrol, like Nigerians, we are used to struggling, supporting our leaders and managing. It became very tough, but Nigerians were really trying to manage. I think what really broke the camel's back was the floating of the Nigerian naira. Immediately that one was done, it was very clear that things were going to go terrible. But we are in it today, and we are a country of resilient people. We will continue to support our government, but there is a need for internal recalibration, because things cannot continue this way. In your presentation, in your prologue today, you said import duties or custom duties were going to rise, because custom will soon adjust certain things in line with the exchange rate, whether official or parallel. So it's very clear that Nigeria is in a very tight corner. To me, I will continue to personally forgive those who insisted that we should float the naira and we should remove subsidy on the only product. The reason I will continue to forgive them as fellow Nigerians was because they were actually analyzing the Nigerian economy from a different direction. Many people thought Nigeria was right to be run as a capitalist nation. But honestly, Nigeria wasn't right. Because as at that, it was very clear that we were producing little or nothing. It was very clear that our health sector was not doing well. It was clear that our manufacturing sector was not doing well. But many of those people were coming from economies where the economies were really matured, where the government has developed the economy for the citizens and empowered them, and the citizens were creating aggregate mobilities of labor, and it was good. So, but the thing is, we are already in it. It's very, very unfortunate, but we just have to sit down. But what I feel right now is, I think there is so much panic, and it is that panic that is probably making the naira and the foreign currency to be looking the way they are.
Mr. Zaka, why is it that our situation is different from other countries? Now, other Arab countries are enjoying the windfall of rising prices in oil, as we are seen affected by other factors around the world. But in our own case, it's a different case. Why is it like that?
Well, I will again thank you for this question. You know, some of us pointed it out. And Nigeria, honestly, as a country, was well protected. You know, remember, Nigeria is a member of OPEC, Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, that takes care of the crude oil side. Then Nigeria is a member of Gas Exporting Countries Forum with headquarters in Doha, Qatar. And that other cartel again takes care of the gas. So ordinarily, whether you were talking about the crude oil and its derivatives or distillates, we were supposed to be safe. Whether you were talking about the derivatives of gas, we were supposed to be safe. But even apart from that, people should remember that Nigeria has even produced an OPEC president in the name of Dizani, former president. Then Nigeria has also produced the OPEC Secretary General, late Sanusi Barkindo. So people like me, when we were experiencing vandalism, when we discovered our refineries were not going to work, I technically expected that since we belong to the same cartel, refineries work in Saudi Arabia, state-owned refineries work in Qatar, they work in Libya in the days of Gaddafi, they work in Malaysia, they work in Norway, Brazil, Iraq, Iran. I expected that our leaders were technically supposed to seek for advice from OPEC, because we're a strong member of OPEC. OPEC members, how come you do not lose 1 barrel of crude oil to bandits? How come your refineries are working? Then in the case of gas utilization also, we belong to a strong gas cartel, GECF, Gas Exporting Countries Forum. How come the members that have so much gas, they could use it to turn gas turbines and generate electricity? From natural gas, they could get ammonia. From ammonia, they could get urea. From urea, they could get fertilizer. So to me, I think somehow, somewhere, there were some forces that were too strong, and they took advantage of the vulnerabilities of our leaders. Because at a point, there were minority voices that were saying the route we were taking was going to be a dangerous one. But everybody was talking about opening the market, competitive marketing. And we said Nigeria is still a third world country. Our economy was still crawling, you know. So, and they said we should, and we practically explained that since you remove subsidy on all the other products, the only product that was holding Nigerians together then was petrol, because strategic sectors have already collapsed. But there were also suggestions also that we needed to bite the bullet. And biting the bullet, also we removed the subsidy. Then the worst one was when some people said our currency was overvalued. Let me explain that in practical terms. It's just like if you are a first class material, then some people amongst your family will be telling you that you should go to third class level. We were not supposed to devalue our currency, even if we had certain things we needed to do. But we already seen as a country that has good currency, we needed to build up production. We were not supposed to do that, Zaka, but we are in it today.
Okay, Mr. Zaka, I understand you have a very strong opinion about that. And there's this key projections from different bodies have projected that there might likely be improvement in crude oil production in Nigeria. So they somehow target kind of 2 million barrels per day in the 2024 budget. Is that achievable, considering the fact that that the federal government is working to see that it addresses the issue of crude oil theft?
No, it's not. You know, I'm talking to you as a very loyal Nigerian, and I'm talking to you as a Nigerian who has been practicing in the oil and gas industry in the last 3 decades. And I'm very active today in the upstream in drilling. So I'm very active. I have an idea of the drilling rigs that are in Nigeria. As I speak to you now, Nigeria does not have up to 15 active drilling rigs. So based on that, I can tell you what the production is going to be. I'm very experienced in that. And as I speak to you again, multinationals are actually running away. And they are using the technical term called divestment. That thing is dangerous for Nigeria because it is sending signals that why you call them multinationals is because they are operating in other parts of the world. A practical example is this. There is a multinational company operator that is in Nigeria. Last year, they did not drill up to 6 wells in Nigeria. But that same company has moved to East Africa and they are planning to drill 450 wells across 5 years, which means every year they are going to drill 90 wells. Honestly, let's be honest to ourselves, because you're talking about a global.
But why are they not drilling as much? Why are they not drilling as much in Nigeria?
Because they are experiencing business climate hostilities. Their products are being stolen, and also the cost of operation is very high and expensive. Another thing I want to tell you, even when you go to the rigs, whether on land or swamp or deep water operations, all those barges you are seeing, they are running on diesel. At the cost of diesel, you can't break even. If you go to a hospital that is supposed to house 200 capacity patients, do you know, even if they have 20, they will run the hospital on diesel generator throughout the night. They can't break even. If you go to a hotel that is supposed to have like probably 200 guests, do you know that even if they have 50 guests, they will run a diesel generator throughout the night. They can't break even. So when you go deep offshore, whether you have the drilling rigs, the tugs, the barges, the vessels, they are running on diesel. And they also have staff that are Nigerians. Many of these staff will continue to ask for higher wages in line with the devaluating value of the naira. So it's a practical reality. Somebody does not even need the knowledge of the oil and gas industry. So the reality is here. I'm only appealing to our leaders that, let us recalibrate our strategies. But I can tell you, those who ill-advise the leaders got it wrong, but they are also remorse, because all of us are in it today. And that's why I told you
So how do we get it right? How do we get it? How do we get it right?
Honestly, personally, if you ask me, personally, let's go back to internal domestication. Because with the business climate hostilities today, multinationals are not coming in to invest. The climate harsh for them. But for us internally, let's internally revive our refineries. Because if we revive our refineries, starting from the first one in Port Harcourt, let's start getting the distillates internally. That will wage us against FOREX of importation. That is what we need to do. If anybody tells you that we need to sell our refineries, you ask him, why is it that in Iraq they are not selling their own state-owned refineries? Why is Saudi Arabia not selling? Why was Gaddafi not selling? Why are they not selling state-owned refineries in Qatar and Malaysia and the rest? Let's take care of our internalities. Then those who have private refineries, of course, right from the beginning, they are after profit maximization. They can produce their product and sell to the West African coast and pay taxes to Nigeria. So it is a situation. Thank God we already have existing refineries. Let us not go into IPO, initial public offers, because it's not going to be in our favor. If we go back to internal domestication, we will first of all wage ourselves against FOREX and let us gradually recover. And we can recover. I know Nigerians' resilience. We can recover.
Okay, thank you very much, Balazaka, oil and gas expert. Thank you very much for that insight, critical insight.
Thank you.
Now, moving on, let's take a trip to the commodities market. Now let's head to energy market where oil prices stabilized in Asian trading on Monday after sharp falls last week amid continued attempts to reach a ceasefire in the Israel-Palestinian conflict, even as the U.S. planned new strikes on Iran-backed groups. Brent crude futures inch up 8 cents to $77.41 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude were flat at $72.28 a barrel. Both benchmarks ended last week down about 7%. They fell 2% on Friday after stronger than expected U.S. jobs data suggested interest rate cuts could be further out than expected, and on progress in ceasefire negotiations between Israel and Hamas. The federal government says it is actively exploring strategies to mitigate the soaring airfare prices in Nigeria. Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development Festus Keyamo, who stated this in Abuja, expressed government's commitment to addressing the issue while emphasizing the importance of implementing comprehensive measures to alleviate the burden on travelers. The minister stressed on the need for Nigeria's aviation industry to enhance competitiveness. He also noted the potential benefits of facilitating access to favorable leasing arrangements and loans for local airlines. Also, the acting Director General of the Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority, Chris Najomo, has read riot act to domestic airline operators, expressing displeasure at the alarming reports of incessant delays, flight disruptions and schedule changes without adequate notice to passengers. In a statement by the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority spokesperson Michael Achimugu, Captain Najomo stated that the current record of flight disruptions, poor customer experience and poor handling of passengers were unacceptable and must be improved upon. The authority boss stated that it will no longer be business as usual, as errant airlines will be sanctioned appropriately without fear or favor, noting that the authority has stepped up its surveillance to monitor compliance with a view to fish out violators. He stressed that airlines must rejig their flight schedules to match their number of serviceable aircraft, and that the airlines are all aware of the airports that have sunset operations, and the authority will ensure that airlines fulfill their obligations to passengers or face sanctions. Next is a summary on how the stock market fared last week, as compiled by Olain Kaojo.
The NGX All-Share Index and market capitalization appreciated by 2% to close last week at 104,421.23 basis points and 57.158 trillion naira. A total turnover of 3.893 billion shares worth 95.147 billion naira in 69,117 deals were traded last week by investors on the floor of the exchange. The financial services industry led the activity chart with 2.640 billion shares valued at 47.654 billion naira in 31,929 deals. The oil and gas industry followed with 347.962 million shares worth 4.064 billion naira in 5,972 deals. The third place was the conglomerates industry with a turnover of 337.682 million shares worth 4.709 billion naira in 5,493 deals. Trading in the top three equities, namely FBN Holdings PLC, Transnational Corporation PLC, and United Bank for Africa PLC, accounted for 961.288 million shares worth 21.390 billion naira in 9,966 deals. A total of 181,095 units of ETPs valued at 40.091 million naira were traded last week in 522 deals. At the bond market, a total of 52,300 138 units, valued at 51.123 million naira, were traded in 31 deals. On summary of price changes, 27 equities appreciated in price during the week, 64 equities depreciated in price, while 64 equities remained unchanged. Olayinka Ojo for Business Express.
Well, let's head to the capital market where the Nigerian Stock Exchange ended the first trading day for the week in negative territory with an all-share index of 103,659.81 basis point, a total of 841.5 million volume of shares value at 19.32 billion naira in 13,674 deal exchange hands at the close of trading for the day. Market capitalization stood at 56.7 trillion naira. And to global, where Bossade is standing by to bring us up to speed on what is happening in the global stock market in trading. Bossade, what's happening?
Musa, well, the U.S. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell said the central bank would likely move at a considerably slower pace on rates cuts compared with market expectations. This, of course, set the pace for the U.S. stock futures in early trading Monday, with stocks slightly lower. Futures tied to the S&P 500 dipped 0.16%, Nasdaq 0.09%, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average also dipped 0.16%. It was a positive flip for European markets as stocks moved slightly higher Monday. DAX rose at 0.25% at 16,961.27. FTSE up 0.41% at 7,646.51. And the CAC 40 of France also appreciated 0.04% across 7,595.13. Meanwhile, China stocks reversed losses on Monday, rebounding off 5-year lows, while most Asian markets kick-started the holiday-shortened week likely lower on fears of higher for longer interest rates. Nikkei appreciated 0.54% across 36,354.16, while the Shanghai Composite dipped 1.02% at 2,702.18. The Hang Seng Index followed suit at 0.15% to close 15,510.01. For Africa, South Africa's JSE Africa Top 40 struggled to maintain momentum to close slightly positive at 0.09%, while other stocks closed negative. That's the global market for the first trading day in the week. I am Bossade Abel. Back to you, Musa.
Thank you, Bossade. We're quite a mixed sentiment there. Well, let's do this again on Tuesday at 9:30 a.m. My name is Musa Abubakar. Thanks for your company.